Good morning, dear Dharma friends. April 1st. I tried to think of a good April Fool's joke, but I couldn't figure it out, so I guess maybe that this is the last day of the broadcast. How about that? That'd be good. So I've decided that I'm ending it today. It's too much of a pain in the butt to get up every morning, so bye. It's been great. That would be madness, wouldn't it? So I'm Robert Beatty. I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon. Today from my little beautiful broadcast house in the backyard of my home. Tomorrow, once again, back at the center. This is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, if you want the real deal, you can go to robertbeatty.com and find the link to the Zoom meeting where the true intimacy and the real thing happens. All right. I have a poem. I have a handful of poems that the poet themselves gave me permission to use. And this is one by Naomi Shihab Nye, who's a Palestinian woman who lives in New York City and is a very powerful, sensitive person. I read about this poem that on her honeymoon, she and her new husband went to South America, and there was a bad incident in which someone was killed. They were on a bus somewhere, and there were brigands, or anyway. And so this poem has that as its background. It's called Kindness. Yeah. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. You must feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. I just remembered another detail of the encounter they had. They were robbed, and it was the end of their honeymoon. They had no money left, so they had to go home. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. You must feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out of the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to sorrow till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. I was at a couple of teachers' conferences where His Holiness the Dalai Lama was there, and he said on several occasions, "My religion is kindness." He also said to this esteemed group of Buddhist teachers, "Don't try to convert people to Buddhism. Help them be better Christians and Jews and Muslims. My religion is kindness." And let us this morning let us remember the stabilizing, deepening, supporting possibility of refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Refuge in being awake, refuge in the way things actually are and in the strategies of practice, and refuge in our little community of practice, and in the marvelous lineage of human beings all the way from the time of the Buddha, carrying this promise, this experience of suffering less and less, becoming more kind. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Kindness. Let us practice kindly. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this and every moment. And when it becomes obvious that there is pain, that there is suffering, stress, anguish, struggle, insecurity, I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. When I encounter others who are acting badly, unskillfully, harmfully, I aspire to understand, to perceive them to be acting on the roots of suffering, greed, hatred, and ignorance, and to hold them too in sweet compassion. So I aspire to set myself free. And so we find ourselves sitting. The body makes contact with the chair, the cushion, or the floor. And we allow the apparent reality of the body to be noticed. Let it come center stage. It sits here, it breathes. Each breath has its beginning. It comes into being and fullness, it declines, and then it vanishes. Mindfulness has qualities of remembering, noticing, being aware. There is a remembering to notice the wandering mind. To turn the 5 hindrances into presence, awakeness, patience, compassion. So we're very clear about our strategy, our intention to stay with the breathing, with the actual sensations of in-breathing and out-breathing, expansion and contraction. And then anything else that happens, anything else that occurs in consciousness, sounds, memories, plans, moods. And it's possible, at least sometimes, to expand the field of view to include the whole body. Notice the life in the feet and legs and pelvis, the life of the back and the fingers and hands and arms and shoulders, the neck and the face, the eyes, the lips. The body is one great mass of life. And there at the center of it all is this ballooning inward, the billowing inward of the breath. And then the relinquishing in breathing out. We are inhabiting the present moment. This breath right now. In addition to the various movements of mind, the trance states of past and future, the 5 hindrances, there's also a richness in the body. There's temperature. The fire element. Notice where the body is cool. Notice where it's warm. If the cool or warmth become intense at all, you can notice how they switch valence from pleasant to unpleasant. How liking and disliking then arise. allowing the body to be still like a rock. In fact, perhaps tuning in on the earth element, the earthen heaviness of the body. It is very heavy. Observing the movement which is breathing. Each breath arises really out of no-thingness. It doesn't exist, and then it does. Same with thoughts. Same with sounds. And so it is that we begin our day with the cultivation of mindfulness, the cultivation of loving kindness, creating a consciousness or opening to a consciousness in which there's room for everything. Cultivating compassion for ourselves and others. Relinquishing the headlong drive, the hopeless headlong drive for completion and happiness and contentment through sensory stimulation. We cultivate the enlightenment factors, mindfulness and concentration, curiosity and investigation, persistence and energy, joy, the joy that emerges from the inside, tranquility and equanimity. All this by coming home to breathing and meeting life on its own terms. Please let us imagine some activity that you're going to be involved in today. Maybe starting right with the final gong of this meditation, the ending. Making the transition to whatever comes next, mindfully. An opportunity today to drive mindfully, or to clean the bathroom mindfully, or sit at the computer mindfully. To notice the beginning and ending of conversations, and to do it kindly. Thank you for making the effort to come together today, my friends. I have two announcements, and they're both in the chat. One is the link to the donation page for this gathering. Generosity is one of the three legs of a spiritual life. There's a moral and ethical behavior, treating each other more and more kindly, more and more respectfully. There's training the mind, training the heart-mind, which we're doing in meditation. And there's learning to do this gesture, which is to let go and relinquish. Some of you were here yesterday. I mentioned that my friend Carl Culberson died. I think it's either yesterday or the day before yesterday. I'm getting confused now, but I've known him for 45 years, maybe more, actually. No, that's about right. He died at home in Sebastopol, California. I think he and Mary lived in the most beautiful house I've ever been in, actually. It's on a little knoll, and then you can walk 2 minutes and you're in orchard. An orchard? That's not there. Vineyard. And a simple house, but with big redwoods right beside it. Beautifully decorated. He died in the living room. But this is the preciousness of these lives, and the Dharma allows us to engage fully and more fully again. So if this is of importance to you, I encourage you to support PIMC. You can make a one-time contribution, or you could become a monthly donor, which is, of course, very helpful for the budget. And the other is a link to Candle's weekend Saturday retreat, which I have here. I think I can share with you. Yeah, it worked like a charm. The theme will be discovering more about who you already are, keeping the Four Noble Truths alive, understanding the practice of the Brahma Viharas, loving kindness, compassion, and so on, developing joy in the practice, and sharing our common experiences is what this day includes. Come to deepen your practice through sitting, walking, movement, and conversation. The joy, she writes, the joy of being in this difficult and precious human birth, and to have the teachings of the Buddha available to us, is a great opportunity to dive into who we are, our habits, and how we actually blah, blah, blah. So there it is. I encourage you to participate in that. You can sign up on the website, or you can sign up directly in the link, actually. Jim, you're doing a Qigong before long, I think, are you not? Oh, right, okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just remembered there is another announcement, which is not a particular, which is an unpleasant one actually for me, which is that Gary Sanders, most of you probably don't know, that Gary had a heart attack a month ago, maybe a little more. It was not a big heart attack, but it was a heart attack. And he wound up having a stent put in. And then he went back to full-bore life. And then 2 weeks ago, he contracted COVID, and he was quite sick. oddly enough, he does not test positive for having had COVID, and his symptoms were odd. Among them was a terrible rash, more like shingles actually, that drove him insane. For him, he really struggled for several days, and he's moved to L.A. and he has decided that he can no longer do his Boundless Heart meeting on Tuesday nights, which is quite a loss for PIMC. He's pulling in from Gary's been very busy doing teaching in all kinds of different contexts, a lot in the recovery world, and he's going to stop all of his weekly things. And he's not officially leaving PIMC. He'll still do perhaps a short class series or a day-long retreat or something, but we won't have Gary's wonderful gathering on the Tuesday nights, which is he has a particular following of the tattooed LGBTQI. I loved dropping in on his class. It was our more, and he said his class was Portland diverse, which isn't really very diverse, but it's Portland diverse. So Anicca, things change. I remember when I first met him, he walked into the Dharma Hall, and we had quite a connection the very first time we spoke. So that's my sharing for you today, and I invite, is there something you'd like to share? If so, please do so. Oh, and for those of you on Zoom, I'm going to try this and just see if it'll work. But if those of you on Facebook and YouTube, I'm going to change the sound, and I think it might shriek. If it does, then I'm going to go back to what I'm doing now. And unfortunately, you won't be able to hear what people share, though you will be able to hear me. Zoom preferences. Scarlet MacBook. All right, let's try that. Dun, dun, dun. Jim, will you wave at me if there is sound happening that I'm not hearing? Or maybe speak to me for a moment now. Yep. Not going to work. Okay. I'm not going to do that. Sorry to those of you on Facebook and YouTube. We'll figure it out someday. All right, I'm back. Hello. Hello, James, you're in your car. You're not in your room. Yeah, they let you out. Mm. 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 Thank you. It sounds like you already won the heart lottery. The heart lottery. Your heart is opening so beautifully. Yeah. Hmm. Thank you very much, James. Beautiful. Hello. Who's this? Hello, Cody in Alberta. Where, Alberta? Where in? Calgary. Hmm. It does not. The koan, the organized koan practices come from Zen, from Soto's Rinzai Zen. And I have done some koan practice. I did 2 10-day sessions years ago, Zen practice. And the koan that I was given was, a monk walked up to Joshu and said, "Does a dog have Buddha nature?" Joshu replied, "Moo." What is moo? Take moo into your belly like a red-hot iron. And so I spent 10 days, moo, 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 moo. And the way I understand koan practice is that it's a way of jamming consciousness, jamming the thinking mind. Because the koan is not answerable in, it's not an ordinary question. It's a question intended to provoke awakening. And I have a student who's done a lot of koan practice, and I've had friends among the Zen world where koan practice was very central to their work, but that's not really part of the Theravadan tradition at all, to my knowledge. They're not antithetical, but you can't do them at the same time. What is the sound of one hand clapping? If a tree falls in the forest, and is there a sound if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there? That kind of. Those are koans. Who was it? Bernie Glassman, who passed away a few years ago. He was in the tradition, the Rinzai tradition from. Oh, what was his name? Anyway, the Zen Center of LA. And he created a whole series of koans for the Western world. And I can't remember any of them right now, but they were the same kind of thing, but very much fitting modern modernity. He created. He was a very interesting man. He created Zen street retreats, where in order to participate, you had to raise $5,000 or $10,000 for a homeless cause. And then if you did that, you got to live on the streets with him for 10 days. And he was an amazing dude. So thank you for the question. Hope that's helpful. Anybody else? Hey. Hi, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Thank you. Which is a good example of the paradigm of when you can, come back to the breath, come back to the breath, come back, be intimate with the breath. When you can't, whatever is the intruder, turn toward it and open it up. Turn toward it, and you're adding an extra layer of conceptualization with it being a box and so on. But that's fine. That's ultimately we come to bare attention and just seeing what's there. So I'm glad it's working. We do have baggage. Everybody does. I've had such a privilege in my life of talking to so many people at depth. Thousands, I guess. I've never met a person with whom I spoke deeply where they weren't troubled and dealing with some really heavy stuff. You know, it tends not to be what goes on Facebook and look how happy I am because I had this for lunch today, that kind of stuff. But being a human being is really tough, even when things are going well. Someone is unmuted. Well, anything anybody else would like to share? Jim, I need to leave soon for a class at the Arboretum. Yay, spring. Well, I see Aaron and Molly are poised. So, last call, or we'll start our singing our way out of here. All right. Let me come to you there. Where do I do that? I forget. It's Spotlight. There we are. Ta-da! Hi! Are you ready to lead us in singing this morning? Uh-huh. All right. Go ahead. Beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much. Yay. What a nice way to start our morning. Thank you, dear friends. Have a lovely, mindful day with whatever comes along. Goodbye. Me? Oh, Jim does Qigong. He leads Qigong there. Yeah. Underneath that roof they have there. Well, I think not. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming this morning. Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube.